through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup was a whisper. Conversations open doors, spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing.
Good morning, good people. It is Saturday. Listen, I got to tell you, I should not love that intro song as much as I do, being that it is my own intro song, but it does. It gets me dancing every time, and I can't be mad at it. So shout out to Soul Man Live, Mr. Aaron Gibson, now Soul Media Live, who created that for this event. Listen, I am Melissa Houston. I'm the cultivator of dreams, motivator of human capital. And all that really means is I like to help humans like you figure out what they want to be when they grow up and get an action plan together to make it happen. So if you want to learn more about me, go ahead to documentthenact.com. It is the premise in which I think all success lies. Documentation, a good plan, and then you act on it, right? Because a good to-do list is only good if there's action put to it. And so if you need help figuring out what to write down, what to get to work on, how to get clear on what the goals should be on that list, let me know. Here, though, every Saturday, I try to bring some knowledge to you. Sometimes I do it solo, sometimes I have a co-host, but this event has been going on for a couple years now. It started on LinkedIn and now streams to Facebook and YouTube, soon to be found on Spotify, because why not, right? But I bring this space together because I like to give back. I like to create a space for everybody to kind of share, go through it together. I've always done this in my life. I've realized I was contemplating hope this morning, and I kind of went into my quiet space, and I was prepping for the show mentally, and just kind of thinking through, like, well, one, who are you to talk about hope, right? Like, I like to qualify myself. Let's assess who you are. And guys, I really believe in assessment before action all the time as part of the documentation process. And I was just assessing, like, when have you harnessed the power of hope? What does that look like for you every day? How are you going to tell somebody else to do it? Because really, when you're not feeling hope, trying to rally it seems like an uphill battle, at least for me, right? Or did. As I was reflecting, I realized it's not something I've always been readily capable of. There's been times in my life, there are still times, days, moments, minutes, sometimes they do get shorter, where hope seems lost, right? And it's just minuscule moments, guys. It could be 2 minutes. You know, you spill your milk, the whole day ends. You've seen it happen, right? We've all seen that moment where, okay, that's it. Nothing's working. And no coach is immune to that feeling, none whatsoever. But it's how we face it when it comes that I think sets some of us apart in our strategy, right? We are more strategic in those moments, and so we seem to excel. And that is something that I feel like I've always been, is kind of analytical, almost to a default, guys. There have been people who felt like I was robot-ish, which I don't know if you know me, but it may be hard to understand where you may get it immediately. I've had others say I was too lofty, dreaming too big, right? I've had business leaders tell me, hey, no, tamper those goals down. That's too aggressive a goal. It's kind of defeating hope a little bit. If you have somebody in sales and they're hopeful they're going to not just hit quota, but exceed it, ask them why. Don't tell them it can't happen. Ask them how they plan to get it done. And maybe you learned something, right? And so I've had those conversations where I realized, wow, they just never had this hope inside of them. They were so analytical, they couldn't get that together. And that's something that, again, maybe the science of the Venn diagram is that, you know, very analytical side of me. But I also want to be Minnie Mouse one day. I want to stand on a stage in a costume the likes of A Christmas Story in my little bunny outfit and motivate humans because a Fortune 500 paid me to stand there and do so, right? That's hopeful. There are also times where, when my fiance passed away, I maintained hope that life would look normal again. Other losses in my life, same thing. And so I started going through the checklist, right? I feel qualified to talk about hope. And honestly, I think every human should. So let me just get that qualification process out of the way. If you have survived every day you have lived, welcome. Good job. You qualify. Now, the next stage of hope for me, something simple. I wanted to make it accessible to all, right? I'm seeing some friends here. I want to go into the comments before I go too far. But Jackie says, good morning from Michigan. Happy International Women's Day. Listen, we're going to cover that today too, because that doesn't bring hope. I don't know what does. Lots of the people who inspire me daily are of the female persuasion. So ladies, we're going to be talking about this. Definitely need to give it space. Good morning, Mr. Aaron Gibson. Called you out. I even talked a little bit about the transition you just made with your name quickly. They should go check you out. But good morning. Nick is here, it seems. Greg, are you here? Wakaboomy, listen. Are they tagging him? I think he's waking the team up. So I'm just going to jump in and say good morning. So let's get back to it, guys. Hope, right? I wanted to make it accessible. I really know that we are on a global platform, ×3 now, streaming to all the platforms. And so how do I just simplify it for all? No access fee. Like, if you're alive, this is an option for you. And the closest I could come to this concept is this. If you woke up this morning, there's hope, right? It's a simple concept. And Stephen Hawking, by the way, is not the first to say it. If you go back, it was very used in history, but he was the one that I quoted because I had just watched a movie about him. And to be quite honest, I just like the concept of what I saw in a very quick, like 5-second autoplay by Netflix. I had no idea what the movie was about. I don't like to read them, the descriptions of movies, because I'm so analytical that sometimes I can solve it just by reading the 3 lines you told me about the movie. Are you guys like that? Tell me in the comments, right? Have you ever been that person who can like take away, you can solve the panic room problems, your word or Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, they just come to you naturally. That is me in a lot of ways. And so when I see a movie that just kind of, yes, I'm not uninterested yet, I dive in. It ended up being his story. And I didn't know it right away. I just saw this guy who I had seen in the Harry Potter Magical Beast movie. And I was like, hey, I like this actor. And then I saw another person in the Harry Potter series of actors. And I was like, man, this is going to be all right. I like both of these people. And so I'm watching the show and I realize, and I'm not going to give it all away, but if you know Stephen Hawking at all, you already know kind of how it goes. But what caught my attention, especially now, was the early part of the movie when he first tripped over his own feet. And if you haven't seen it, guys, I'm just going to be very careful about this, right? I don't want to give it all away. Go watch it. But it was one of those things that caught my attention because I have arthritis. I have arthritis in my hips, and they have little spurs on them, little hooks, as it were. And so if I get moving in any one direction, if I move my leg too quickly in any certain direction, it can catch on all of those nerves that live inside of your thighs. And man, does it feel like a rock concert goes off. And it's breathtaking at times. It can cause me to grab a counter because the pain, like, could you imagine if somebody just yanked on that cord inside your thigh without your permission? Are you going to keep walking? Probably not. So there's moments where that happens to me, and it will get progressively worse as a diagnosis gets further along until I can have a hip surgery. I get one in my lifetime. I'm in my early 40s, so we're waiting. Okay, so it talks to me. All of that to say, Nick is here, or I saw her. She's my publisher. We're going to be doing a book, More Than Our Diagnosis. And go find it, because there's a lot of people who have been diagnosed with things that we're overcoming every day to do what we do. Right. And so, again, it called to me. I watched this gentleman who's just a young guy in college trip on his own feet, go to the doctor, and they diagnose him with 2 years to live. It caught me in my throat. I had no idea what this movie was about yet. I still hadn't figured out that the Stephen in front of me with these diagnoses was the Stephen Hawking. But I was enthralled. I was listening, and then all of a sudden it hit me who it was. And when it hit me who it was, I just blubbered, guys. My eyes started to stream because I realized, oh, wow. He already, in my mind, I know how this ends. And so I know I'm not as fearful about this 2-year diagnosis as before. And then I really pondered that. And that's where this quote came from. And I took it to LinkedIn because, guys, he didn't give up hope. He kept living in spite of. And he was part of the motivation for today's show. That said, let me know. You feeling like you need a little sprinkle of hope this morning? Are you here because maybe you're feeling a little downtrodden? Maybe you're looking out at what's happening around you, personally, professionally, politically, globally, emotionally, financially. Right? There's a lot of factors happening for a lot of people right now. And so if you just pull circles out, very scientific, we can sort the data. And in the center of all of that is you. So Stephen Hawking's the reason I wanted to do the show. It reminded me that I too am pushing beyond what they told me I could do. When my son was 2 years old, they told me I had 10 years to walk. They didn't really think I'd get beyond that. Now, I was a mom at 18, guys, so let's quick math. That means at 20 years old, they told me I'd stop walking by 30. I'm in my early 40s, and I just told you sometimes my leg wants to stop working. I pushed beyond. And so I went through the whole checklist. How did I get here? and 15 minutes in, I'm ready to tell you. So good morning, guys. Thank you for tagging all your friends. If you don't catch it live, please come back and tell me you're part of Team Replay. Also, if you're not following me on YouTube, please go do so. Go look for at Document Then Act. Trying to keep it consistent here, but you can find previous shows. You can see some shorts that I'm building out there, and I'm going to keep building too. But subscribers matter, right? I want others to find us. That said, accountability, accessibility, hope, life, every day. How do we do it? And I'll be honest, very first thing I try to do every day is catch a sunrise. And so that would be my first tip to you guys. No matter what's happening in life, do you wake up with an intention to do something quick? Like, just, do you have a plan? As soon as you wake up, do you pray? Because that's one of the first things I do, right? So if your faith is something that matters, and that's one of your first things you do is, hey, God, thanks for air in my lungs. Thanks, universe, for another opportunity. Whatever that is for you, right? Maybe that's where you start. And I think gratitude, we've seen it all over LinkedIn. You've probably seen it on other platforms if you watch mindset coaching and such, because being positive and thankful is a very easy way to move forward and to make progress. They say you catch more flies with honey, right? We've all heard that analogy, and you could drop other analogies if you have them. But when you are thankful, when you smile, when you are the first one to display positivity in any way, I feel like it's contagious. Okay. And I don't understand the ripple on a microbial level. I don't understand the ripple from an aura standpoint. The feeling, though, the vibration or whatever it is, give me some feedback in the comments. Have you ever been in a room where you can tell it's not positive, grateful, happy, hopeful, right? And I think there's some kind of energy we can bring. And if we're the first people to be in the room with ourselves in the morning, what is it, the vibe we're sending every morning? And so for me, to make sure I do something positive, I just stand up and go look outside. Now, today it's raining. That's kind of counterintuitive, Melissa. What do you do if it rains? You live in the Pacific Northwest. What happens when the sunshine doesn't come? Well, listen, I don't know if you know me, but when it rains, I like to write. It makes me want to get creative and sit down and color and play in my passions and just kind of chill out and take it in. I don't know if that's the plant in me, guys. I am a Virgo, right? So if you understand any of that, I like to be earth. I'm an earth sign. I like to be grounded in my plants. I love nature. I love outdoors. And so when it rains, I still find appreciation for those things, right? And it reminds me of Maya Angelou. Every storm runs out of rain. Another facet of my hope. She and others like her, other writers who were inspired enough to document their thoughts, motivate me. They're hopeful. They give me a lot, right? And so I wanted to keep sharing the things that motivate me every day, inspire me in spite of. There are people out here who get really sad when it rains. I don't. It means flowers next week. It means fruit on the trees. It means beautiful yards that people don't have to go outside and water with their income. Simple, silly, but perspective, right? It's a shift. It's something we have to be in control of. And so brings me back to this image here, this self-doubt, imposter syndrome, fear, and courage. And I really think to have hope, you have to turn your courage on, because hope is not easy to maintain in spite of. I think of the people who inspire me, the ones who made history, women's history, Maya Angelou. I will speak her name my whole life. Her words will float in the back of my head my whole life. I know why a caged bird sings. Just something early that just planted a seed, and I wanted to help that person in the cage. I felt like the person for a while, like what? I felt like the bird in the cage, but then I shifted, and now it's a different perspective, right? And so, guys, what is it that maybe you're saying to yourself every day? What is it that you're turning on in the morning first. Because I think it matters, right? If you wake up to a car alarm instead of your regular alarm, there's a shift, right? And how you respond to that shift is what's going to matter for you. Because you being angry at the alarm doesn't change the alarm. It doesn't even care. It's going to go all day and probably all week, right? It can go till the battery dies. You sustaining that anger or frustration, way worse. You're going to wear out first. And so think about that. What things are you fighting in life that you're opting into, knowing it's a losing battle, knowing it's a pointless battle? Imagine fighting the sunrise, being mad, screaming at it, trying to make it go away. Would it work? Think about the people who are smiling in your life when you're having a bad day. Will being mad at them make you feel better? So that's the other thing I want to talk about before we get too much further into hope. Can we talk about toxic positivity and people who like to take your hope away because they don't like the way you do your hope? Because I've been accused of it. And you know what? That's okay. It really is. It's okay for people to not understand how I can smile in spite of. They haven't lived the life I've lived. They haven't had to figure it out from a young age in the same way. Maybe they never got hopeful and they got stuck in that negative thing they faced as a child. Right? And so be mindful of hope. If somebody tries to take it away, it's probably because they don't have any and they don't see it. They can't believe it. They think you're faking it because nobody can be that happy if I'm this miserable. If happiness was there to be found, I would do it. So you must be faking it, right? And guys, the other thing I will tell you is to maintain hope, you have to maintain good boundaries. I hope you're writing that down. To maintain hope, you have to maintain good boundaries because there are people who are there just to heckle, just to troll, just to naysay. There are people who would dismiss your concept based on the title of the paper. There are people who judge a book by its cover and humans by their skin. There are people who judge you based on what you believe in politics and what you don't. And you know what? That's okay. Everybody's entitled to that. But it's when, using that Venn diagram again, your circle overlaps with my circle without permission. It's one thing to have your opinion. It's another thing to overlap mine without permission. Now, take it quietly, process, do your Venn diagram with my ideas and yours in your house. If you want to talk about it, let's schedule that. But you see a lot of internet hatred that just comes and says, you did it wrong. You could post your favorite recipe and 5 comments are going to have differing opinions about how you didn't do it correct. And it's your favorite pasta. So how is your favorite thing wrong for you? Right? And so perspective and boundaries, assessing what people tell you, but then making sure you need to take that in, making sure you want to overlap that circle. Right? Oh, I love this here. I'm going to read it. When life robs people of their smile for a while, they know to hold on to it no matter what when they get it back. That's it, guys. Like, imagine, I'm going to go worst case scenario. Let's say you had a really severe health diagnosis and you couldn't be outside, you couldn't hang out with people, you had to kind of isolate, right? We've seen this recently in the past few years where people had to literally hide in their homes and not hang out. But imagine that first day out of your home, you are just cloud 9, right? Bouncy, excited. And everywhere you go, you're just beaming light, energy, excitement, happiness, lost time being made up in every moment of your day. Because life's short and you know it and you're ready to celebrate. And then the very first place you go, the cashier's like, why are you so happy? Don't you see? Insert here. Why? It's a trauma response, guys, when somebody's upset and has to sprinkle their upset on your happy. It might be a processing response. It could just be genuine curiosity because, oh my gosh, I'm in the worst day of my life and I see no light. And so be mindful of who it is, what they're saying, and ask yourself those simple questions we always talk about: the who, what, where, when, why. Right? So let's talk more about hope. Hope is one of those things that in faith, it's mentioned a lot. I like Isaiah. They that wait upon their Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall walk and not feel weary. They shall run and not feel faint. I didn't have to read that. That's in the brain. That was on a plate my great grandmother gave me when I was a little girl. And it was a Bible quote, came from Robert Schuller. There was a Saturday Crystal Cathedral she would watch, and me being at her house on the weekends, we would watch it together in the morning while she had her coffee. I was on the couch. That's where the TV was back then, right? There was one in the house back then. And it resonated. There's others. Love is patient, love is kind. You've probably heard it. It's been used in media quite a bit, right? We've seen it in movies even. It hung on my wall, and as a faithful person, that gave me hope. Because if you know the way it ends, right? But there are other things like victory and victim both start out the same. It's up to you how it ends. I wrote that one. And I wrote that one because I was on the side of the street, suicidal. I was having a really bad day, guys. Like so bad. And as a teenager who was going through homelessness, there was sexual abuse in the home when I was a child. There was lots of drug abuse around us in the home. Not direct line of sight always, but it wasn't hidden well. It was like when you hold a book over your face when you're in the cafe so your person doesn't see you, but they could tell by your hairline above the book it's you, right? And so it was hidden but not. And I was tired. I was working full time at this time. I was going to school full time. So do the math. I was pushing long hours every day. Plus I was in ROTC and Junior Leadership League. I was a kid who loved to hang out with friends. And so I would wake up like 4:30 in the morning, jump on a city bus at 5 a.m., go ride to my friend's house so we could hang out for an hour or two before I had to go to school. I was always that girl, but at that time, at some point, I was exhausted. We all get there. Even young, exhausted humans who look like they're handling life with ease, right? I was doing all the things and I was doing it well. I was also flipping my check over and just signing my name and handing it to our landlord so we would be able to stay where we lived. 16, and I didn't even get to touch my money. Now, I'm not doing this as a poor me thing. I'm not doing this to garner some kind of pity at all. It's just heavy stuff life brought, right? And so how did I get through that moment? It was the victory and victim. I wrote down victim on paper. I wrote it down. And then for whatever reason, I don't remember, victory came not too long after that. It was right there below it. And I realized, oh, they literally start the same way. And so, guys, it's up to us. It really is. Life happens to everybody every day. There is no human who's immune to a bad day. There's no human who doesn't lose a human. There's no human who hasn't worried about job loss or the bills not being paid at some point, right? Nobody's first check was enough necessarily. Maybe I'm wrong, and lucky you if your first check was the one you could retire on. I don't know many who started there. I don't know many who even retired now. The billionaires, the ones that are running the show in a lot of organizations everywhere, right? They had to put the work in the garage first, in the basement, the long hours after their own jobs. they had hope they would eventually not be in that position. So that's where we're at today, right? It's been about 30 minutes. I feel like I've been vamping a lot. I do want to get back into the comments here, but is any of this resonating? Is this something that you're feeling? Are you stressed out? Are you in need of hope? I did a poll recently, guys, and I was not happy with the results. I want to go look. And I'm not happy in a way like, hey, I wish there was more engagement, because it was a busy poll. It was. But I was watching the answers come in. And I'm getting there, just so you know. I'm not trying to take my sweet time, but I'm taking my sweet time. So I just said life brings change. For some, it's positive. For others, it's not. We are stronger together. And then I said, how are you feeling about the next 12 months? And 22% as of right now say they are excited. 39% say positive but cautious. 25% are nervous. And 15% answered, I need hope. I have 110 votes. Let's just round it down for simple math. We'll just call it statistical oddity there, right? There's some issues. But if we have 100 votes, 15% of 100 is 15 people need hope today. If we have 100 votes, 25% are nervous. If I combine those two, that's 40 people out of 100 are not really living the dream, right? Nobody wants to live in nervous or I need hope status. If I include the 39 above that, right, that means 79 people out of 100 have some caution floating in the back of their head. They're either positive but cautious, right, hopeful but concerned, maybe being careful. And the others behind them are even worse off. Now, if 22 people out of 100 are positive or excited without any kind of nervousness behind it, that's amazing for them. But if I were to assess a teacher on those outcomes, if only 22% of the classroom was successfully passing with a positive grade, how would we feel? These aren't hard questions, but I feel like not enough people are asking them with data. And when we do have data, I like to fact check. I just did my own, guys. I told you I was going to lie about the data. I took off 10 votes to make it easy math. The reality is 22 people being positive today could change quickly if those 22 people are connected to any of those others who aren't feeling so hot. Right? Because how positive can you be if your best friend's down? How positive can you be if your spouse is nervous or scared or needs hope? And your positivity isn't enough to gap fill for that right now. And I'm not trying to be Chicken Little with the sky is falling. This is about giving hope, but let's get perspective on it. If there's only 22 smiles in a room of 100 people, how long do you think it will take for it to shift to 100% in either direction? Is it possible? Do we live in a world where it's possible to get 100% of the humans in the room hopeful? I think we can. I really do. I'm a faithful person. My faith tells me it's very possible. I also know that I'm watching people who say they're part of my faith take away my hope in ways, or try, right? Like they're really trying to just irritate Melissa enough that I shift from hopeful to aggravated, frustrated. And I don't want to do that, right? We go back to that mindset shift. We cannot be hopeful if we're also aggravated. Not until we have a plan. You can be aggravated about a flat tire. You can be hopeful about a solution once the truck's on the way to tow you. Once you know that you have the spare and it's aired up in the trunk, you're hopeful again. It might be frustrating, but it's manageable and there's hope you will be on the road again soon. And so all I'm trying to do today is to give you my spare tire, my toolkit, my hope, #hope rope. Right? We've talked about that before. And I thought maybe it's just been too long. And really, the last time I was really focused on hope, it was not much different than today, politically, in the climate. I'm just going to own it, guys. There's a lot of anger across the aisle. And I will tell you, and I have told you before, I am purple. If you're going to make me pick a political side, we're going to sit down with my circles. We're going to Venn diagram, and I'm going to show you in the center is the only way forward for me, because I care about the 22 people smiling, but the others who aren't. I will always feel that way, right? And so that's my stance. So first things first is we get analytical, we assess, we get the circles out, we write down the good, the bad, the ugly in the first circle. I've always said that's step one. Who are you today? What are your bullet points only? No long descriptions. Melissa is a coach, consultant, motivator, mom, grandma, manager, wife, gardener, right? There's debt. I have not paid off my car. Again, we're not putting more than that. There is debt. That's the answer. It doesn't have to be more than $5 even to be a bullet point of debt. But you guys, what are your bullet points? Are you an author? Are you a publisher? Are you an influencer, a creator? Are you creative? Are you quiet? Explosive? What are those facets for you? Figure that out, right? Write them all down, good, bad, ugly. Because once you figure out where you are, you can quickly look at those bullet points and go, oh, I don't like this one. I don't like this one. And you can pull out some crayons and highlight the ones you want to keep with a green. Maybe draw a red line through the ones you don't want to keep. You could do a lot there. But the other thing is, who do you want to be when you grow up? Who are you today, good, bad, ugly, and who do you want to be? So if I'm a high school student, right, and I want to go to the NBA, I can quickly make an NBA circle and put the bullet points of all the things I know Michael Jordan needed to get on the team. Kobe needed to get on the team. The things we celebrate them for now. I can quickly start to practice those skill sets, harness those things, apply them, change my focus and perspective. When people don't have hope in history, I think Anne Frank, how in the heck did a young 14-year-old girl find a way to be hopeful in spite of all of those things? Because guys, I read the book a lot as a teen, right? It was part of my required reading. But the other part of the conversation for me was always, I like to write at that age. I felt a little trapped in my life. So while I was being severely dramatic in the overlap there was a lot of things that bullet point wise aligned. And so I kind of felt like her. I felt like Harry Potter when I read about being the kid who's not really welcome all the time, but people are taking him on because he needed somewhere to go. I was homeless a lot. I spent a lot of time on couches, right? So perspective. But Anne Frank's hope, in spite of it all. How? She was documenting her feelings. She was getting out the stuff that hurt. And I feel like there's something that's never talked about enough there. Any of the people who have been formally educated in this, therapists, right? Counselors, those people who have education to do that kind of work with you, talk to them. If you're one of those qualified professionals, talk about maybe how documentation can help, because I know writing apology letters or the letters you will intend to burn after, but you just write it down to get it out. Journaling, diaries, it's all very healthy form of processing. And when I think about how at 14 she harnessed that, and then I look at teenagers who went through, the pandemic, locked away against their will. They couldn't really do much. They could, everything was shut down even if they wanted to. It reminded me a little bit, very little at that time, right? Very little of that though. And I was just using that as a parallel to understand, like, how do you keep people engaged when you're stuck? And again, it went back to creativity and documenting and painting and writing and crafting. We made fun signs for the window in the first month. And we rotated them out weekly. It was small, but it gave my kids a way to inspire hope in others, to bring smiles to the other people in the room that weren't smiling right now. Right? And so these are the messages I've lived my whole life. I just wanted to share this with you. And guys, if you want to join the stage today, I'll let you. You can message me on LinkedIn. I'm not quite there yet because I want to wrap in a few things. But I just think that hope is something that we have to share. We can't keep it to ourselves. And so if you can find your hope, your way to get through in spite of not feeling 100%, I think you should, especially now. Right? And so let's talk about ways we're doing that. Me personally, I got to tell you, this is one of the ways. Coffee Chats with Melissa is me giving it away for free, 2 hours a week, every Saturday almost, right? I do give myself some time off because I'm a good boss. But I try to give back for free here. And I give the show some flexibility. It becomes whatever it needs to be. Sometimes I have guests. Sometimes I go it alone. Sometimes I will have a co-host who comes up and teaches a topic, and then we have friends come up and converse, and that's cool, right? We're hope sharing, knowledge sharing, and that's hopeful. If I learn a new skill today, I'm hopeful I can use it tomorrow to improve my life somehow. So I want to give you some ideas of things you can do today to maybe help yourself, right? First, though, let's get into the comments. I'm not very good at doing both today. I just got to tell you, but you guys are blowing up the comments here. Thank you so much. It looks like Erin says, we should have a fun siblings episode. Melissa, Felipe, Nicole, and okay. That's, oh man, are you guys ready? Is the world ready? Good morning, Gregory. I see you. Let's see. Nick says, when life robs people of their smile. Oh, yeah, we read that one. Sorry, going backwards too far. Here we come. Ba, ba, ba. I remember moments that the only thing that got me through was hope. It's so true, guys. It really is. And sometimes we got to create our own. Sometimes we just get hopeful we can have that donut when we get up in the morning, right? We're going to go get that fresh donut at Krispy Kreme or whatever that spot is. Maybe that's the hope. Sometimes we hope we get to work before everybody else. We get our favorite parking spot. Sometimes we just hope Friday gets here faster. Welcome to your weekend, guys. But let me ask you, when you find yourself losing it, and you don't have to share publicly, you can drop it in the comments if you know, like, I lose hope when, I look at my bank account after paying my bills. I giggle, but guys, that was a facet of my life at one point. I lived on $247 a month in cash assistance from the government. I was a student full-time and a mom full-time, and I was not living high on the hog, right? I wasn't. And so it was easy to lose hope back then when you had a $120 electric bill in the summertime in the desert to stay cool in your home. And you've got $247 a month to live on, right? How do you stay hopeful when you have $100 for toilet paper and laundry and whatever else you need? How do you stay hopeful when you look at the news? This is something that throughout the history of my whole life, this is not unique, right? The news has always been something that is somber sometimes. It's not always positive news. And so, in spite of that, how have we been hopeful? How have we made progress to get to here, even though the news has been horrific for a long time, right? And so what is your hope rope? What does that look like? I just read that for Aaron, it was his son, right? And sometimes holding on to that hope is just, I hope to set a better example for my kids than to give up today. It's a personal motivator for me. I'm not saying everybody should have it. And honestly, if you're feeling really hopeless right now, guys, and no matter how much motivation, no matter how many sunrises, sunsets, fresh air, fruit, documenting you do, it's not working, then it's time to make an appointment with a doctor and tell them. It's time to call a hotline and talk to somebody who's certified to do that. Or it's time to DM somebody and say, I am not doing okay. Please help. Because the other thing is, guys, you can't always find hope when you're stuck in the dark. It's really hard to turn on the light if you're in a dark space and can't find the switch. But if you know you can scream out, hey, friend, turn on the light. I can't find it. That's hope, right? It's almost like a get out of jail free card from Monopoly. If you know you can phone a friend and they're going to call and they're going to turn on that switch for you every time, or you're going to turn it on for them. And sometimes you just take turns high-fiving each other into the ring, right? That could be the thing. Maybe you go into your face when you lose hope. Maybe you just write it down. And why am I losing hope? What is it that's heavy? And when you assess it, you're like, well, this isn't like unmanageable. It's just a lot on my plate. And I don't feel like I don't have the hope that I can get it done today. And then, yeah, there's a lack of hope, but it's not as devastating as it first seemed, right? And so let's talk about it. What are your tips? I'm going to come through a little bit. Let's see. Gregory saying improved leadership equals better hope matrix. Yeah, matrices. I 100%, guys. And I think there's a lot of work we can do as leaders of businesses, as people who hire other people. This week, hope was heavy, right? A lot of people are telling me they're not feeling it. I was able to give job offers out. I infused some hope. It doesn't mean it's balanced yet. It doesn't mean that fixes it for the people who were having a bad day. But the two that I talked to had a better day because I was able to make change for them. Give them hope that, hey, income's coming, right? Now, Carolyn says, I'm trying to hold on so many things, so many changes. I'm tired. I get it. And you know what? Being tired is allowed. Another thing, and I'm so glad you brought this up, Carolyn, because another thing that we've talked about before is HALT, HALT. If you're feeling hopeless, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling frustrated or outside of yourself or just not 100% you, something's not right. Just run the list. Are you hungry? Are you angry? Are you lonely? Are you tired? And if you're any one of those things, assess your why, right? Because if you're angry about something, if you've genuinely been put off, somebody has affected your life, they've attacked you, maybe they crashed into you with intention like a troll, right? Anger could be justified, but it could also just be an automatic response to a new frustration, because reality is most people don't run into your car on purpose to cause a car accident. And so you being angry at the person who couldn't stop in time but meant to, or somebody who did stop but the person behind them didn't stop in time and so they shoved themselves into you. Are you angry at the middle guy or angry at the one before? And do you know why they didn't stop? Right? And so for me, it always goes back to the assessment phase. Before I do anything, am I hungry? Because I get hangry, guys. Give me a thumbs up if you get hangry. Right? But if I'm hangry, I have to pause and eat. And usually if I don't have protein in heavy doses by 9 a.m., I am not a kind person. I get short. I get frustrated. I get easily frazzled. I'm like, hey, hold on. And I really believe it's because my brain needs the proteins. I genuinely can feel the physical difference. And it's because I've assessed myself over time. I've paused enough to do that. Who is this person? Why am I mad at them? What am I doing? What's wrong with me that I'm acting this way? Have you ever been in your body where you're like, I don't want to act this way, but I'm acting this way? And it's almost like you see yourself acting out of sorts, but you can't get her to sit down or get them to sit. Shh, just sit down and be quiet. And you're like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. And you know it, but you're doing it. Those are the times we have to slow down, guys. Slow down to speed up. If you're cussing at the screen while you're watching your football team, right? I'm going to turn politics into football so we can talk about it kindly and without getting into the deep, dark facets of it all, because I don't want it. But let's say we're yelling at the screen because the other football team is moving the ball in a way we don't like. We might be justified. It could be a bad play. It could be something that should have a flag. It should be called out by the refs. But us yelling at our screen doesn't tell the ref anything, because they're not going to hear you from your living room when they're over there in whatever city they're playing in today, right? And so think about that. Are you expressing to release, or are you expressing to take action, to make change? How do you stay hopeful with news, hope, and good distraction? Pull my finger, Aaron, go away. What are you talking about? Get out of here. Him with the jokes. Don't be gross. That's disgusting. Michelle says, write it down. Absolutely. Documentation, right? Get it out, guys. Sometimes the frustration comes from not feeling heard. Sometimes we're not heard by us because we can't articulate how we feel. Like, it's not that they don't want to know, but if we can't tell them. There have been times where I've been so frustrated. I'm in the bathroom. I've heard the news. I'm just like venting, right? Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing this again. I'm so mad. Why isn't anybody stopping this, or whatever it is, right? And this is anything. It could just anything. It could be the kids fighting. Who cares? But I'm in the bathroom and my husband's like, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, I don't know. And I know I don't know. So I'm not asking him to solve for it, right? Saying, I don't know what I want from you, alleviates it. He offered, asked, and answered. And then I'd go in and I'd start assessing. Eventually, after I realized I don't even know what's wrong, I can't ask for help. So why am I that frustrated when I can't even ask for help? Yeah, Aaron, I'm going to beat you up for that. But when I finally said, okay, listen, I know what it is. I just need a hug. Like, I just need somebody to give me a hug, release it. If you Google what happens after so many seconds of a hug, there's some serious chemical changes that are happening in your body. I can't articulate well because I'm not educated in it to do so, but I felt it. And I know after reading it, I tried longer hugs and it worked. And so go do the research yourself and figure it out, right? But there's value in asking for what you want or telling people, hey, I just need this thing. And again, as long as there is life, there is hope. You just got to remember that next breath could change it again. One breath, one conversation, one sunrise away from it being different forever. Now, we could get into the negative part of it. Or we can start trying to figure out, well, like, hey, I don't like what today looks like. What do I want it to look like in the future? What are your dreams looking like this day? Do you have any clarity in that? Do you know what next year should look like for you if you wanted to be extraordinarily happy? Right? I'll be honest, I do. I want to keep coaching. I want to keep writing books. I want to get my planners and journals on Amazon also. I want to work on The Emotional Women with Jackie Hallberg. I want Felipe and I to keep working on Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. I want to start a new venture I haven't even thought of yet. I want to keep planting all my plants. Truth be told, guys, I have a problem. I need help. Send help. Is there an interventionist for planting plants? I am sitting here, and for those of you who know, I've been babysitting a plant for a friend, and it's a Bonnie spider plant. They are really easy to maintain, but they are kind of picky. They want to be in their set environment. They don't want to move around a lot. They want you to water them when they want to be watered and not when they don't. And we understand each other. And so I have been able to take care of it, make this plant thrive. And I am now looking at an entire window filled with plants. I probably have 200 babies ready to be repotted. And I'm thinking I want a greenhouse. And I don't know if I'm going to do it for like free community gardening where they can just come take them. I don't know if I'm going to sell them. I am selling a few right now just to see if people would buy. I put them on our local exchange group. And a couple of people have, and that was so fun. But the reason I feel like I need to have a plan for this is because I'm not going to stop harvesting these plants. And each of these plants was born off of one. And now I have many who are producing babies. So there's a plan there, right? There's just a plan. And guys, I have the photos. I've dropped them on previous episodes, but they're out there. Like, it's fun. I also have green onions that we took from our scrap garden in the kitchen. Like, I love a good scrap garden, so I do that too. And I'm hopeful to have more vegetables that are reproducing for free, right? I want to keep my budget in line in spite of changes to the markets that I'm functioning in. And I just want to maybe reproduce the green onions instead of repurchasing them. Before, I was throwing the scraps away. I had scrap garden before during COVID, but I got a little lazy. It was fine. And now I'm like, hey, maybe I'll just save money, a couple dollars a week on green onion, right? But what are those things that we can do? Those little things. It's a small thing. It takes me 2 seconds to put it in some dirt that's already sitting here and put water on it when I'm already watering the others. There's things you can do in your life for your goals, your plans, the things that make you happy. These plants make me happy. I've been on calls with people and they're like, Omar, who has me babysitting the plants, like, stop, don't do it. No, come back. He keeps yelling at me like, you remember Willy Wonka? He's like, no, stop, come back. And she goes off to go do her little spoiled brat dance. They keep telling me, don't, stop, come back. And I'm like, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And I keep planting them. But it feels good. And they could be a gift for others. And the worst thing I'm out is a little dirt and time, some water, right? Now, on ROI, business only, like all of the feelings and reasoning behind it outside of that. Each plant sells for like $5 to $25, depending on size. So something that's giving me a ton of joy, I'm doing to help somebody else, and it's giving me fruit by default, is an opportunity for me to harvest some income. I can send these plants out to friends, which I've talked about doing too. I want to wait until the weather's a little more consistent nationwide, so that way when we're shipping it, it doesn't freeze overnight in some shipping container somewhere or something, right? But guys, it gives me hope to watch a plant grow. Every day I wake up and there's sunshine, it means the plants will grow again. Life will continue. And I'm very grateful to say that for me. It doesn't mean everybody gets the same. But if you're here and you got that gift, let's use it. Let's use it to inspire somebody else to use their day to the fullest potential. Let's use it to act on the things that are making us not happy. I know that I have been making calls to people in leadership, to organizations and areas of influence that aren't really functioning the way I want them to. Have you called people to say, hey, I'm not happy with what I'm seeing in the world? Do you know who you can call? Because there are support hotlines. If it's just really heavy and you don't know how to keep going, there are people who will talk to you and listen. I'm one of them. We're here right now, right? There are ways you can write to your leadership if politics has you unsettled. City, county, state, federal governments are all accessible to write to. There are people who are voted in to speak how you're feeling to people above them. Are you calling them, whether it's your manager at work or your city mayor, your governor, your senators? Maybe you call them and say, hey, good job, because maybe you feel that way. Maybe you thank people for hope because they did a good job for you, right? I'm not calling anybody and saying thank you right now. I'll be honest. I'm frustrated. I want to fix big problems. And a lot of my friends, the people I'm connected with on LinkedIn specifically, are educators. They're government employees. other military professionals, armed forces, service people, retired, maybe giving back in a nonprofit, maybe business leaders who are trying to keep the business afloat in spite of changes that are increasing their cost also. Right? And so I say all of that, guys, because there's nobody who's immune right now. Even the people who seem to be in charge and doing great things, they're having bad days. There is no way they're not getting the phone calls, right? Even the people who are smiling at Disneyland, having a wonderful day, may have some trouble when they go home. I'm going to give an example. One of the nonprofits that I keep thinking about right now is Make-A-Wish, right? You want to talk about trying to bring hope or give hope even for a day, give life to somebody to do that one thing they've always hoped to do. I think about the humans it takes to get it together, right? And in that moment, they're in that day where their wish is being fulfilled. They look excited. They look positive. They look happy. And I don't want anybody to think that's fake, or I don't want anybody to be upset that they're having a good day in spite of. And so I also want to remind you, even though you're feeling heavy, even though the world may be feeling heavy, even though it doesn't seem like we should be positive or hopeful or have any of this good stuff and happy stuff online right now, I would ask you to pause and ask yourself why you feel like that. Because again, more flies with honey than vinegar. I feel like having hope in spite of it being devastating is how we get through. The people who have hope in spite of it looking hopeless are the ones who earn medals at time of war. The ones who find hope in spite of what's on the horizon are the consultants who find a way to bridge the gap, even though it hit the fan and business is closed and everybody's shuttering and everybody's told to stay home. I was able, with that mindset, to find a way forward, even though everybody's being laid off. We had a record-breaking year at the background screening company I was working with because I was hopeful that there were still some business on the horizon if I looked at industries that had not yet been impacted. Imagine saying, hey, we're going to Disneyland today, and then there's a roadblock on one end of your neighborhood street, and you say, oh, all hope's lost. We're going home. That's not the way. They go, oh, dang it, they're working on this street. Let's turn around and go to the other street. We can take Broadway instead. Sometimes we don't know how we're going to get out instead, so we have to GPS it. We have to use a tool or a resource beyond ourselves or what we know to get more data to make it happen. Something else I think that we don't do enough of is to just communicate. Oh no, I hit a dead end. Guys, I'm really frustrated. I'm at a dead end. I was going to Disneyland. The road I was going to take is closed. I don't know how to get there now. My family's relying on me. A lot of pressure, a lot of work to get to this point to afford this trip. Such a frustration point. How do I get beyond it? And somebody is going to go, hey, Bob, I did that last weekend. They were working on it last weekend too. Did you see Saturday? Yeah, it's crazy. They'll be done by Tuesday. Anyway, I took this street down to this street, down to this street. We got there and we actually saved 10 minutes because we didn't take the route that everybody took. By asking for help, not only do you get the advice that helps you get there, but maybe you improve a process that was once your standard. Now, not hurting others. I'll be honest, it's really hard for me to keep hope inside if I'm acting in a way that's harmful. I have never seen myself be in a bad attitude and help somebody, right? It's never happened. I'm trying to Venn diagram this. I might have had an eyebrow raised. It wasn't a bad attitude. It was accountability with a facial expression. But genuinely, when I'm in a bad mood, I will tell people I'm not in the mindset I got to go, and I will shut myself off and own that I'm not ready to be that person for others right now. Set that boundary and call it. I did it this last week. I was done with LinkedIn one of these days. I had hit my peak of the time. There is this place that lives on the internet that is on a different platform, Reddit, where they go and they just bash people on LinkedIn. Humans trolling people who are out here trying to help others. And you know what? It's cool. It's there. But I got frustrated because when I went to Reddit to look for something, and it was for a motorcycle thing, they have really great forums there to help each other. So I went to go search a part replacement thing for a customer, and I saw it, and I was like, oh man. Just the headline popped up. SEO or whatever the powers are in my phone tracking my devices, they must know I like LinkedIn a bit because they offered me this group, and it was just more bashing. And some person had talked about their mother and how she woke up every day early, and she was making parallels of her own life. And I was just like, somebody took an action step to belittle what they were seeing. And I was happy to see right below that there was some defense happening, because there's this whole thread on this one platform and probably 10 million others just to make fun of people on LinkedIn. I've been there. I've been on there. I have friends who have been on there. Really, if you're doing well on LinkedIn, you'll end up there at some point. I was on there for setting boundaries, saying, hey, if you're not active on LinkedIn, if you're not engaging, if we don't actually connect here, if we just connect and you disappear, or you've retired and you're no longer active on the platform, I will disconnect with you. And that frustrated them. Now, there's a difference between hurting somebody and frustrating them, right? So I can frustrate people by setting boundaries. The person who read my post was offended by the fact that I said, hey, if you're not engaging enough here, I won't maintain the connection. I'm sorry that upsets you, but I'm not, right? I'm sorry you let yourself get upset by my actions for me that are healthy for me. That makes sense. From a safety standpoint, they say close old accounts you don't use, right? If you're not on MySpace actively, you shouldn't just let it sit there forever dormant, because those places get hacked. There's security behind not staying connected to people you don't really know or engaging with. That if they're not engaging with their platform, what if somebody hacks their stuff and takes over their LinkedIn? Right? And so you can be upset, but you didn't assess my why thoroughly. Yes, I posted it in a motivational way, and yes, I gave you food for thought for you, but the people who wanted to blast it had not used critical thinking before they did. And if they used all their critical thinking and still came out with my boundaries were upsetting for them, aren't boundaries beautiful in the way they work? Isn't it funny how you can tell who needed them and those who don't mind them because they respected them to begin with? Like they naturally created them. Because I don't tell my friends what to post. I might say, hey, are you okay? Hey, I've read this post and it made me think this. Is that the vibe you were going for? That's accountability. That's friendship. But I'm not going to go call him a lunatic for doing so. So all of that to say, guys, when you're looking at the world today, the way you assess the movements of others speaks to how you think, right? I'm not mad at people for being upset by my post. I'm not. I'm sad for them a bit that their highlight of their day is going to bash others to gain some kind of clout, right? If the highlight of your day is how you owned somebody or how you made them look bad in public, I don't want you to be my friend anyway. But I do want us to stop, pause, and assess and ask ourselves, are we ever those people in other situations? because hope is something we cannot preach to, speak to, talk about, or harness if we're going to be negative in those ways. Not consistently, at least for me, right? I haven't figured out the way. If you know how to be both a troll and hopeful, let me know. Right? I feel like there's some trauma triggering there that I don't understand. I'm not going to, I don't know. I don't understand it. Why does it upset you? Somebody else has boundaries. Does it upset you? Somebody locks their front door at night. Did you not get told you were allowed to do it? Because that's part of it too. Guys, if somebody doesn't understand what you're doing, it's probably because they've never experienced it for themselves. And if they haven't experienced it, seen it displayed in others, if somebody doesn't understand hope or positivity and they call you toxic because you display it, my first thought is, oh, I wonder what their childhood looked like. Because Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, it gave me hope. I still hot dog dance if that song comes on. I can't help myself. There was something big about the magic that organization harnessed for me throughout my lifetime. I was that kid they spoke to my whole life. Sunday nights, I'd watch the Disney movie, right? Family Sunday night movie, and I'd see Tinkerbell, and I'd be excited. And I've always been that girl. Snow White and the evil queen, right? You can bite into the poison apple, even if all your friends say, don't do it. No, stay here. Let us protect you. Sometimes we make poor decisions and then our friends come to help us. If you're surrounded by people who have the ability to see you when you need it. And that's the other thing, right? Who's in your back pocket, guys? Do you have the Snow White Seven Dwarfs thing going on? Because I know a few people who I could give some dwarf names to. But I also know that it's the people I surround myself with who help me get happy, right? If I had too many grumpies in my life, I don't know if I could giggle, but I have had grumpy people come into my workplace and I put on my Snow White giggle and really genuinely engaged with them. And they became hopeful. They had a smile. You can't dream and troll. I don't think you can. If you can, ask yourself why you want to do both. But what are you dreaming about? What do you wish you could see change today? What is that thing? And you can talk about it. I know for me, I wish the world would stop changing at such a rapid pace because I don't think anything changed that quickly is good. It feels like 52 card pickup to me right now. I turned on the courage for that because I'm living in a space where I'm not holding all the cards. I can't control what this other person's doing right now. I can make rules so the next time we all walk into this room, we're not allowed to throw the cards in the air. But yelling at my TV screen doesn't get the ref to enforce the rule any more than it does when we're looking at the Super Bowl game, right? So how do we get into action? How do we do it? How do we keep hope every day? And it's first, wake up grateful. Say thank you to whatever belief system you have. Say thanks for waking up with a positive smile, Melissa. Let's go look at it. Thanks for waking up in time to see the sunrise. Let's go get it done, right? Thanks for making your to-do list yesterday so we can make the change today. I don't know how many times I've been frustrated by something. I go to bed, I wake up, and I forgot what I was frustrated about. But I know I was so frustrated last night. What was it I was going to do this morning to fix that frustration? And it's not until I run into that thing again that I realize. But if you write it down, you can get it done. Anything written down becomes a permanent reminder. It could be a sticky note. It could be an alarm in your phone. You could set a daily reminder in your phone that says, sit down and write your to-do list. And it could repeat at 9 a.m. every day for the rest of your life. You could set that up. That reminder could be the one. And then because you have the reminder, you do it. And then you could even set a secondary alarm saying, hey, did you do it when the first alarm went off? You should do it now. If you figure out what holds you back from being hopeful, from being able to execute on your hope, you'll have less hurdles to overcome, right? We can get the things done. And so again, what's good, bad, and ugly in your life? What's in that first circle? Is it your leadership in politics right now? What don't you like? Get clear on what you don't like, write it down, and call somebody who can help you fix it. Because I'll be honest, I could blast the internet all day long with things I don't like. And I do sometimes, right? I really do. But then that does nothing to change it. Nobody's sitting on social media going, oh, this post by Melissa Houston means we got to go to Congress. Oh, this post by Melissa Houston means we're going to overhaul HR policies now. That's not how it works. I wish it worked that quickly. But guys, we've also seen the side effects of letting a post dictate change. It's not always a great answer either. And so what is the real action we have to take to make it permanent, helpful, and hopeful? First of all, I'm going to go back to that poll. For me, I want to change the number from 22 positive people in the room to 100. If there's 5%, we can pull them forward if there's 95 of us smiling at them. 95 of us with ideas to make the other 5 who aren't smiling smile. Whistle while you work, right? Whistle while you work. I can't say that too fast. That's a strategy that works because happy people get stuff done faster. Kids who are excited to get a task done can get it done in no time. If they don't want to do it, it's going to take them all day. A 5-minute chore will take 12 hours. Parents, humans, grown-ups, people, I'm looking at us. We are the kids who grew up, and the mindset didn't always shift with age. So if you're begrudgingly doing the work, if you're finding yourself struggling to want to do the thing, ask yourself why you're struggling. What is it about the thing you hate doing or dislike, or what is holding you back? Some of us don't like to pay bills because we hate seeing the end of the bank account. Once all the bills are paid, it feels devastating. Even if it's a lie that money sitting in your bank account is still yours sitting there, it feels different for some because it's their perspective of value based on the number on a screen in one spot. Some of us look at paid bills as being wealthy, feeling wealthy, right? And it's perspective. So let's talk about your perspective. What is it that makes you not happy? Is there anything where you have these hardline rules? It's like, oh, this happened now. I got to be miserable today. How long, and I keep thinking about Damien right now, the 2350 network, right? Go check him out. But something he talks about is not letting 10 minutes affect the rest of your day. And think about that, because it's a profound comment, statement, mindset to have. What one thing are you going to let ruin the whole rest of it? Because to be honest, that's my least favorite thing in the world, is if like you have a little bit of a tiff with your spouse and then all day long you don't talk. Or the whole weekend you just put it aside because now you're tiffing and you're not talking and you're in opposite corners and you're just not going to spend the time together. Now, I use that example because I've been married for a while. We've been together for 17 years. It's happened, right? It does happen when humans spend a lot of time with each other, whatever the relationship stands. It could have been your own mom. I'm certain you guys have had time and space where you had to separate. But why? Right? What is it about those environments, and how long do you put on that after somebody has upset you or after there's been an argument before you'll come back and say, hey, let's get it done. Let's get back to work. How long after you've skinned your knee do you sit on the ground before you get back up? Because some injuries take longer, guys. They just do. But I talk to riders just this week, I had a pal from work, a customer who came and has hosted a couple of bike events at the store I work at to raise money for nonprofits. Okay, give back, bike wash. He crashed his bike this week, and he is so lucky to be alive. He's also lucky to have his back right now. They think they did great during the surgery. They think he will be able to walk again. To find hope in a moment like that, where your hope is you get to walk again. It really takes anything that I'm feeling heavy about and puts it in perspective, right? I have hope he's going to walk again. And if he doesn't walk again, I know, it's not just hope, I know he will find a way to be active and be out there and still giving back, because that's who he is. Hope in spite of our circumstances, situations, or outcomes. To be with somebody for 17 years after losing my fiance days before the wedding. Just passed away in his sleep in his mid-20s. Who would have hope after that? That's devastating. I finally, my childhood wasn't great, and I finally got away from the town I grew up in, and I created a new life. I got off all of the welfare and assistance I was working towards, and I pushed myself forward. And then I give my soon-to-be husband a call, and he's not there anymore. He was visiting family out of state because we both came from really big families. We didn't have the funds to bring them all together. So we each were going to visit our families individually and then do a small little ceremony together. How do you maintain hope after that? It's not easy. But I knew God gave me every day exactly the way it happened for a reason. That's my faith. That's where my hope comes from. But I also have hope because I know Melissa gets crap done. I know Melissa believes in reaching back and pulling forward to help each other. I know I have hope because I'm not in this alone. I have a whole squad of people who help other people. If I send up a flare and say, hey, this person needs help, we need to share this post to get this person a job, I'm certain the community would light it up. That's hopeful. Knowing that I have 15,000 people I can call on LinkedIn to go, hey, my friend needs a job. Do you know anybody hiring in this industry? That's hopeful. I don't have time to do that. I'm giving a fair warning. Please do not message me asking me to do that. If you want to do it, get engaged on these events in the comments, connect with other people, go support their post and get to know them because they'll be willing to help if they're in my circle. That's the people I surround myself with. And when I see that's not working, boundaries, they get cut. And it's unfortunate because, firstly, LinkedIn doesn't let you block people if they've been in your events before. And that's a safety feature I wish they would fix, because you'd have to go find every event you ever aligned with that one human, remove them, and then you can block them. But the reason I do block people is, one, they come into my DMs inappropriately. That's a quick goodbye. And I mean like images or they love me and want to get married kind of conversations, guys. I've seen it all. So that'll get you blocked. Another one is the pitch slap or something where it's like, hey, I can help you with your mindset. You should let me. And I'm like, you didn't even look at me. And I don't want you to talk to my friends if you're not really engaging. And so I'll block them because I don't want them to think I approve of those humans doing the thing. I'll be honest. And the other time is when I see harm done. When I see people who remove hope that should be sharing it. When I see people stealing hope from others. When I see people, copy pasting and not giving credit, that bothers. That takes hope away from people who are sharing hope. Now, it's one thing to share the post. It's another thing to copy, say, hey, AI, reformat this in my tone and post it, right? So I remove those people because if you're not authentic, my friends are going to figure it out. And when they get on the phone with you based on the post that you've been regurgitating, they're going to be less cared for than if you actually did the thing. If you actually practiced the things that the other person practiced. And we've heard horror stories. I don't know about you guys, but I've heard horror stories of people who paid for a service and then it wasn't great, or it wasn't, they just disappeared. I've been in situations where I've traded services. I provide my half. When it came time to get my portion to receive it, they blocked me. Guys, that doesn't take my hope away, but I can't imagine that person's going to stay hopeful for long if that's how they move in their situation. Because when you need to call on a friend, there's none left. So you have to move in on strangers, and then you don't execute for them either. So you ruin any possible new friendships. How you move matters. How you maintain your hope. Who fills your cup? Who do you pour into? How does it ripple? All right, so I have been going on and on and on, and I know there are people who said they wanted to join the stage. So I would love to hear what's coming up for you. I will add a disclaimer. I do not want to go into politics. I do not want to get into the hard-hitting stuff by name. If you want to talk about it privately, I'm happy to. But I have friends on both sides of the political spectrum. I don't agree with anybody 100% ever because I am my own person. I will acknowledge that there is some concerns for me as somebody who has been on the lower end of the earning spectrum, who has had to utilize services to help feed myself, house myself, help my child, medical services, as somebody who watched my grandfather and my grandmothers and my own mother use Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare. As family members who have served, who are veterans, I see those services being changed. It bothers me. I got to be honest. But today, right here, I want to talk about hope. And my hope is that if we continue to work together, to talk about things together in a kind way, to listen to all sides, to speak truth and facts, and to respect each other's boundaries, we're going to move forward. So what I'm going to ask you to do if you want to come on stage is to share ways you increase your hope if you get down. Who do you call on? What are those things you do to turn it around in your head if it's not 100%? Now, while I'm waiting for people to come up and message me on LinkedIn on the DMs to get the link, okay? We are going to be cameras off also. I'm not broadcasting your face on my channels. This is an audio event. But I will say this. For me, quick fixes when I'm not feeling so hopeful. One, I do the HALT, right? We talked about it. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I will assess whatever that is. Two, I write down what bothers me. While I'm doing the HALT, I can easily do that and write down the things. Am I hungry? Yes. So I put down hungry. Am I angry? Yeah, I'm angry. Somebody stole my last donut, my lunch out of the community fridge, whatever. Am I lonely? Well, I'm feeling kind of lonely because the people who work with me steal my lunch and nobody invited me to go with them. Am I angry? Whatever, right? You can assess these things and you can write them down. And then you go, okay, so I need to go eat and I want to hang out with friends. So maybe I can meet my friend for lunch because these people aren't giving me what I need, right? Quick example, but write it down, assess it. If your government's upsetting you, please don't come to Melissa. I'm not fixing it for you. But you can write to your people. You can write down what upsets you and figure out why it upsets you. What is the ripple in your life? For me, I fund a lot of the programs that are being attacked right now. And I also stood on those programs to get to where I am. And so I'm the anomaly that stands to oppose everything everybody believes on all sides. So I'm not accepted by all sides because I break the rules by doing it my way. And I want you guys to do the same. I think there's hope in doing it your way. I think there's hope in figuring out a way to get it done in spite of others holding you back, right? I'm not allowed to apply for every role out there that I would qualify for based on my knowledge, right? Just what I know in my brain. I don't qualify for every job I could do because I don't have a piece of paper that tells the person who would hire me that I have the knowledge they want, even though my resume shows experience would have that. Now, how do I keep hope when I'm looked at by people who may not appreciate the value without that piece of paper? I'm hopeful not everybody thinks that way. I keep the perspective of I'm not surrounded by everybody who believes that. Secondly, I am capable of entering different ways, right? So I can't apply for company A, but I can talk to company's president and have him hire me as a consultant, as a contractor. He would never hire me to work internally, but he would pay me $250 an hour to tell him how to make those people run better because they've never done the job. They just have a piece of paper saying they could theoretically do the job. And no offense to you guys if you have formal education. I appreciate it. I think there's value. I think we both should be given the opportunity to land the job, right? And so just hope, guys. The hope is in finding that one spot where you see light in the darkness. It does not have to be the sun glaring through being bright. Right now, I have hope that there's the sun behind the clouds because it's overcast, but it's not dark outside. There's light. There's got to be something hiding just beyond that filter of clouds because I can see clearly outside what's happening. And sometimes that's enough. It doesn't necessarily have to be sunshine. It's the hope that it's there just around the corner, out of sight, maybe coming up behind the mountain. We don't see it yet, but it's lighter outside and the sky, we can tell it's coming. So what is that hope for you? What is that one thing that every time you think about it, it works? Here comes my secret, okay? And some of you know the secret, some don't. But if I don't feel 100%, if I'm having a really bad day, if all is lost in my brain and I just cannot turn on the happy switch, I go to Disney. And I love the doop, 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 doop of the Jungle Book. The Into the Jungle, they start banging on the drums. You see Baloo come shaking in with his shoulders just popping, and mine do too. And when that plays in my ears, it doesn't matter where I am, what's happening, my shoulders just start going. It's hilarious. It's almost like movie worthy, guys. But I can't help it. It just tickles my spirit. And if I'm dancing and singing and playing and laughing, I feel hopeful. Even if I'm not sure what I'm hopeful about, it feels hopeful. Who's seeing Grey's Anatomy, right? The dance party, same thing. Worst day ever. They just had the worst day ever. Every time, right? They have a lot of bad days, Grey's Anatomy. But somehow just hanging out with one other person, or even yourself, turning on the music and just kind of dancing, letting it out, shaking it out. The coolest thing about a day is it only lasts for 24 hours. So even your worst one is never going to exceed that. Think about that. Write it down, figure it out. I do see Gregory's coming here. I'm going to add him to the stage here. Gregory, welcome to the audio event. What's coming up for you?
Good morning. Just want to make the friendly reminder to make sure that you set all your clocks ahead 1 hour. Spring forward in observance of daylight savings time. You do not want to be. We want to be on time for your next event, Emotional Woman Tomorrow, with Jackie and yourself, yours truly.
I'm doing Felipe tomorrow. I'm not quite sure. We did the Emotional Woman. I'm not sure. We'll see. But anyway, change the clocks. Let's get focused on you, though. What's coming up for you today?
Well, I'm going to a cancer fundraiser event in downtown Winnipeg at a place called Tavern Tavern Untied. It's a basically like a sports bar with fish chips and tacos and all that jazz and stuff. With your topic about hope, and that's why I said in terms of that line, better leadership equals better hope matrices, because I will say in terms of leaders that we had in prior generations, such as Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, those types of generational type of leaders who basically, I will say, moved mountains and made positive change in different aspects of society. And that's only the two leaders that come to top of my head. There is uberly more. Sorry that if I basically took do not recall any more else. But I will say, in terms of the leadership that we had prior to the leadership that we have right now, we need to call out, in we need to, I will say, somewhat call out or somewhat point out very good leaders in terms of what they're doing good on this platform and stuff. And we need to, I will say, give constructive criticism in regards to where can they become a better leader, because in terms
Wait a
of
minute, Gregory. How does that come back to hope, though? Because I don't think criticizing others on how to improve what they do for me to enjoy it more is the hope message. So how does it tie in?
That's why I'm going to tie this into the hope message, because back then you have leaders who was basically giving hope and having good positive hope messages to their communities in terms of hoping for change, hoping for better, in terms of a better society and better community. Well, I feel that in terms of the leaders that we have today, does not hold that same type of hope message.
Question. I have a question, Gregory.
Stuff, so,
because I hear what you're saying, but you're on a stage as somebody who's a leader doing hope messaging. And so I want you to sit down with a circle, Venn diagram, not opinion or beliefs, like emotional beliefs, but just, are there leaders talking hope, talking about change, trying to make change? Yes, Felipe and I are one of them, Jackie and Damien, Dr. Tanya, Nicole, Aaron. I see a ton of examples. And so here's what I always tell people. If you're not seeing the change you want to see, I'm going to go back to Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in this world, right? You have to use your voice and not tell others to use the voice for you. And I think that's where hope gets lost, is we're looking to others to say what we feel and mean for us. And that's not how it works, because if Martin Luther King or Malcolm X waited for you, Gregory, to tell the world what they thought, we would still be waiting. You weren't born and active at that point, right? You weren't in the know to be that person for them. And so I think accountability and hope comes right back to our lap. If we want to see it, we must be it, right? I know that sounds, I don't know if I just quoted somebody, it sounds too natural to not have been stated before, but guys, seriously, if you want to see that thing, make it. Be the inventor of the moment. Create the hope movement. Create the conversations that are not taking place, instead of asking others to keep hosting the event for you. And no offense to you, Gregory, but anytime that I hear people saying nobody's doing it, I'm like, well, then you're in the wrong rooms, because somebody's doing it. There's nobody who's not doing it somewhere. The world's too big to think that anybody's unique enough to not have contemplated the same things. And so the only way to bring it in is to yell, hey, I'm a fan of the Arizona Cardinals. And then all of a sudden, 30 people have a jersey on and they're standing next to your car and they're having a barbecue right by the arena, right? With strangers in a trunk. They're eating out of your trunk. And that's a reality. But it's only when we speak loud enough for others who believe like us, or align with the messages that we want to see when we speak them, that they can show up and do it. And I mean, look at right here, right? Michelle, be the change. I don't know Michelle very well, but I showed up to talk about hope today, and here it is. We got people that I don't know, right? People I don't really know well, I'm connected to, that are commenting and showing up, talking about hope because I said, hey, we're going to do it. Let's do it. So, Gregory, I double dog dare you to host the conversation you want to have this week. And I implore you to invite all the people you want to have that conversation with. The people you think are the leaders who can help you get it done, host it, and then invite them so you can tell them what you need them to hear instead of asking them to speak to what you're thinking, because we can't until we know, right? I can't speak up for a kiddo in a room until the kiddo comes and says, hey, I'm hungry, or hey, can I have a water? I don't know where the fridge is, or hey, I got to go to the bathroom. Where's the bathroom? And I can go, hey, kiddo needs a bathroom. Where's the bathroom here, right? It's a very simple analogy, but guys, squeaky wheel gets the grease. Ever heard it, right? You got to ask before we can answer. So Gregory, if you could ask me to do one thing this week, what topic or conversation point would you like me to cover soon?
For next week?
I can't promise it'll be next week, but what topic would you like me to cover soon?
You're putting... Wow, that's like a put on the spot type of question. Didn't see that.
Well, you can think about it. I can go over some of these conversations.
I know.
Yeah.
Here. I'm like, that's a put on the spot type of question. That's like a 95-mile-an-hour slap shot from the point, hockey reference.
And that's the thing, though, Gregory, is honestly, and if we go back to the beginning of the show, we have to assess what we want first. Because if we have somebody come up and say, I'm happy to help you, what do you need? And you're like, not sure. Like my husband, when I said, hey, I'm not having a good day. Well, what do you need? I don't know. And then I went in and I was like, oh, I need a hug. After I assessed all of my things, I knew what it was, right? And so until you can answer that for yourself, I would pause and assess and maybe just observe, and anything you're not feeling. If you hear somebody speaking, you're like, nope, that's not what I want. Write that down. No, I don't like this, but I align with this. No, I don't like the taste of this, but I do like the taste of this. And if you listen to yourself and your gut and how you feel when conversations are held, instead of just adding, which I add a lot, guys. So this is self-talk first. I always give advice I've given to myself first. But if you go into a room and observe how you respond to what you hear, it helps you to find what really moves you and what doesn't. And when you get crystal clear on that, when you know very neatly what it is, those bullet points in the circle of the good, bad, and ugly of what makes you you and what you're trying to do, it's easier to answer the question on the spot at any time. And that's where hope comes in, right? Because if somebody goes, hey, I'm going to take you anywhere you want to go. Where do you want to go? And you're like, panic sets in. That's not hope. That's not excitement. That's panic. That's fear. Oh, what if I make the wrong choice? I can tell you right now, if you show up and go, Melissa, you're going anywhere, I have a 5-day plan already in the back. Do you have a climate in mind? Because I have an Alaskan plan. I have a Hawaiian plan. We can go to Thailand and I can feed and play with the elephants, or we can go to England and I can do a tour of everywhere my ancestors came from. I have 50 plans. Because I hope somebody's going to go, hey, let's go on this trip. Where do you want to go? Right? I got the plane ready. Let's go. We got the boat ready. Let's go. And so, honestly, guys, if you want action, if you want to see change, you got to be the change. And if you don't want the change, if you don't know what the change is, if you don't know what it is you're hungry for, you'll never pick a restaurant. You'll never find the right space to be in to get the solution. So, Gregory, I love that you came up and asked us, but I feel like you gave yourself homework. So I'm sorry.
True, but some people are true, but I'm gonna get into a little bit of flack for saying this, because there's a fellow Canadian who is a friend of yours is in the room per se, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. But I will say there is certain pockets in the world and in my space, in my orbit, that is virtually resistant to change. And I try to basically say that you need to change A, B, and C, and D and E, but they are virtually, I will say, resistant to change to the point I will give you a kind of like a a picture of it. Present the movie Ten Commandments, and you see that graphic of 2 or 3 child kids trying to push a stubborn ox or a donkey out, trying to move a ox or donkey and stuff, and the ox or the donkey does not want to move at the time that they were being liberated from Egypt and stuff. And that's basically, I will say, I'm basically the child. I am basically the 2 or 3 children who's trying to move change in regards to certain type of aspects of HR within my locale and stuff.
And listen, I hear you, Gregory.
It doesn't regards that nature stuff. So
I get it, but here's what I'm hearing. You're still trying to force somebody else to move what they believe. That donkey doesn't want to shift. Based on your analogy, what I would do is hoist myself on top of the donkey, and then over the donkey, I would climb over him, mount him, and then slide off his neck down. And he's either going to hate that and move out of the way for the next guy, or he's going to let me pass. Or I'm going to mount the donkey and I'm going to smack his butt and we're going together. But I'm not going to force the donkey to change the donkey's behavior unless I have a way to change my own. And that's where people get stuck is I say you have homework. You're like, yeah, but this donkey over here. But that is not self-accountability. You keep trying to go behind the donkey and make a move. You're trying to get past the guy who's blocking you. You're not trying to take the donkey with you. And I mean, at least I wouldn't be. And if you're trying to take the donkey with you, maybe you should analyze your approach. Why does the donkey matter? Is the donkey ever going to change? If you bring him with you, is he just going to tear down the next situation and stand in the way of progress again? Right? And so I hear your analogy, but then again, I ask you, beyond making the donkey do it your way, what are your other options? Because nobody can force Gregory to do it my way any more than I would expect you to think I would do it your way, right? We can't force each other to align. But you come to my stage because I do align with the changes you want to see in HR, and I give you space to speak. But I don't want to make it, they have to do it our way. We're just going to let them get out of our way, or we're going to step to the side 6 feet and we're going to go a new way on the other road and leave them over there on lame lane. Right? Because we know that that's a dead end. The people who believe the way they do about DEI, HR, inclusivity, diversity is going to fail long-term, in my opinion. And the people in my circle also believe that. It's either going to evolve into something better, we're going to change the words we use and we're going to keep people included, or we're moving away from that team and we're going to go create new organizations that do so. And that's just the answer is we're not going to force Bob to be like us because they're not like us. But we can educate them if they're willing to come to the table. And if they're not, we don't invite them to the party when we launch the new business. That's how we make progress happen, is in spite of Bob the donkey being unwilling to move. We do it anyway. Right? And so that's where we have to harness our power. That's where the hope comes from, not in the fact that the donkey won't ever move. I have no hope that donkey's going to join me. But I don't need that donkey to join me to get it done. So what do I care? The hope is other people who think like me will come with me over the donkey. Right? We'll bypass the donkey, ignore the donkey, let the donkey come join us in a minute, because eventually that donkey's going to be outnumbered. That's just it. And I can't force everybody to be like me, because Gregory, there are some really bad people in history that I don't care how much time I had with them, they would never think like me. No matter what kind of coach I think I am, I still don't think I would have changed the mindsets of some of the worst people of history. And now we're living in an age where somebody's going to be the worst person of this time. And I'm not going to change that for them. But I can change who I hang out with, how I align with them, how much power I give those people, how much time I give them, and how much energy I give to them. That's where our power and hope comes from, is how we navigate away from the things that suck it out of the air. When we walk into a room and it doesn't feel good for us, we shouldn't stay. We shouldn't make them throw a party for us if we knew we didn't feel welcome to start. we can speak our piece, we can leave a little nugget, but I'm not hanging out all day. I might go to the wedding, but if I don't get along with the whole family at the wedding, I'm not staying after the ceremony to be received and hang out. I'll say hi to the bride and groom, congratulate them, and be on my way. That's an option, right? And so that's what I do is if I find people who aren't aligning with me, people who voted that said they don't believe in DEI on my poll, I disconnect it. Can't block them because they've been in my shows. But none of my friends will think I'm connected to them when they look. They will not see that I am endorsing them or aligned with them. That's the best I can do right now because I'm not going to change anybody else. And I don't want to force change. It doesn't work. It just does not. You can force compliance, but when you're not looking, they're sneaking something. Right? You can't force respect. I keep thinking of Kendrick right now because you can't fake influence, right? You either have it or you don't, and you can't force it. You either have influence in the room or you do not. And you can gain influence, but not by force, because then it's just allegiance or fear. That's not what moves people in a profound way that's sustainable. And so just think about it. Think about how you go forward. But I seriously think you're in a space where you should be hosting these rooms, inviting HR professionals to have the conversation you want to have your way and make them come to your table, because I think that's where the conversations you want to have can really take place. And I think HR people would love to come in and share their mindsets on this. And that's what I'm hopeful for you. What do you think? Gregory, are you going to do your show soon? I think it's time.
Yeah, you're not the only one. You're not the only one who said I should be doing my own show. I don't know if you know this Lovable in terms of, since it's International Day for Women, Julie Fox, she's basically putting that earworm inside in my head. I should be doing my own content and my own shows, but I'm just trying to figure out how should I do it, what platforms, all that type of, in the words of Carrie Bradshaw, all that jazz per se. So yeah, so I'm just
and listen, clarity first, document then act. So write down what you really want to talk about. When you figure out what you want to guarantee talk about, and I wouldn't do any more than 3 to 5 bullet points in this for anybody thinking about a show or to have a conversation that you really want to do on a platform.
Same thing with your BFF Laura Sherman, basically. So yeah,
Lauren,
she basically put the challenge to me and stuff. So yeah.
Hold on one second. I want to share this point. So guys, if you want to do a show, if you want to create a brand or have a conversation that's pretty consistent, 3 to 5 bullet points about your topic is smart money, right? Coaching, consulting, connecting, mindset, life. That's kind of, if I had to pick those things, those are the 5 things I would say. Now, for you, doing HR, diversity, inclusion, autism, neurodiversity, whatever you want to do, right? Those are the things I quickly could give you off the top of my head for your brand. And maybe you do a poll. Maybe you poll your audience like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a show. What are the topics you'd like to hear me discuss? Because that's another thing we do as market research. I really recommend it, is getting clear on your messaging, because I can think I'm talking about, mindset, life, and whatever. But if when I speak, you guys hear something else, I have to listen to that. It's that Silly Putty story where Silly Putty was a cleaning product till the kids got their hands on it. And then it was a toy because it was more useful that way to keep the kids busy. I don't know, right? And so you have to listen. But I think definitely appreciate you coming. I only have 5 minutes left, so Gregory,
I love Felipe's comments.
Hold on. Hold on. No, I'm not going to go there right now. I'm going to take the show because I have 5 minutes left and I want to give it to the women. It is International Women's Day, so thank you for coming. And guys, Felipe, thank you. Felipe says we can't keep hitting a brick wall when we experience change. We need to think differently, to go over the wall, under the wall, around the wall. Stop doing the same thing over and over again, expecting something to change. I love that. And Felipe, we've talked about it, right? A new to-do list brings new results. If you don't change one thing every day, nothing changes. Nothing. And so even if it's just adding an extra 5-minute stretch a day, if you add one extra piece of fruit, one extra, lap around the pool, whatever it is, one new seminar video, just get going, but know yourself. And I think that's the other thing is it's easy to ask for help and say, I need help, right? I need help. We're humans. We all need help. We all could probably use a hand, right? We all could. But when somebody's ready to give it to you, do you know what it is you need? What is that? Ask. When I tell my husband I'm hungry, if I don't have pizza, steak, burger, taco, but to follow up, he looks at me like I just opened up the biggest Pandora's box in the world, right? Because, oh man, I'm not picking food for what kind of food do you want? Oh no. And so just be clear. What do you need? Before you open your mouth to say help, just get clear on it. It takes an extra 2 seconds sometimes. And if you're not sure, say, I need help, but I don't know with what yet. Can we assess what I got going on? And maybe you can help me figure it out. That's cool too. So can we talk about International Women's Day though? I think this is a huge thing. First of all, it doesn't get enough attention, I don't think. And I don't think it will for a while. The big hashtag right now though is accelerate action. Love the hashtag, right? Let's get some progress happening and do it quickly. And right now, I want to just ask you, I shared a few names that were women that I really looked up to, right? Maya Angelou being one of them. I think about Harriet Tubman. In her time, she gave people hope. And I don't think she meant to necessarily, right? I watched the story and we talked about Stephen Hawking, but I'm a big fan of real life based documentaries and movies and stories. I like biographies. I like to know about humans, right? I hear these names, but what do I really know if it's just a name? And so I dig in, and I don't think everybody starts out with the intention to do it to motivate others. I think they do it because they see something they need to speak up about. And maybe somebody claps or somebody goes, yeah, that's what I was thinking. And I didn't articulate it. Or, oh man, you just finally helped me figure out what I've been thinking. You stated it exactly the way I've been feeling it. And whatever it is. And so I think about how they got to be in books forever, history, conversation starters on coins, taught, remembered. And it's because they did the thing that mattered to them. And they acted in spite of. And that doesn't matter which lady you pick. And I wish I would have been more prepared to give you a million women to talk about. But I'm going to give you homework. I want you to go figure out who in history was really cool as a lady. Who's making history today as a lady internationally, not in your own hometown necessarily, but that'd be cool too. You're part of the globe, but I would love to see a bunch of women called out today. I don't care if it's a picture of Maya Angelou and her favorite piece of writing for you that you heard, right? There's Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right? She's gone, but Ginsburg was somebody everybody dressed up for as Halloween one year, The Descent. And I'm not saying I aligned or don't align. I did align, but I'm just saying, I think women have made history forever. I look at the women of NASA and I think about Hidden Figures and the profound shift of just having a bathroom. You're the smartest brains out there calculating numbers faster than computers could figure out to do, and you can't even use the bathroom. These are things that changed the landscape of today, and I refuse to go back, and I will stand with anybody who believes in the actions that got us progressive, forward thinking to make it easier to let humans be human and do what they're excellent at. And if that bothers you, if you're not a fan of DEI, diversity, inclusion, equity, If you don't want to see women and people of color on the walls being celebrated for their accomplishments in history, we're not going to be friends. And I'm not sorry. I feel bad for you because I feel like you're going to miss out on a lot of great history and humans and passions and dreamers and fun. But you're choosing that. And I'm going to let you because I'm not going to force you to come to a table you don't want to be at. But I would ask you to not include me at your party either because I don't want to accidentally feel like I'm in a room of people who don't align with my belief systems. And so please just choose. That's okay. But I want the world to be my friend. I want to protect the smallest in the room always against anybody who feels they have the ability to make them feel less than. And I don't care what side you're on when you do it, you're wrong. I don't want fake. I don't want forced. I don't want anybody to feel they have to do something to get help. I don't want to feel like I'm dangling a carrot in front of humans who just want to live. And that's something I won't negotiate on. If you're hungry, I'll feed you. I don't care what you look like. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from. I don't care who you voted for. Because reality is, I know who I am, and I'm somebody who wants to give you hope. That hope is not lost. I want to show you that even if you're on welfare, even if you're homeless, even if you're barely getting by, if you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, if you have nobody in your family willing to support what you're trying to do, even, I will. I'm here. Because reality is we're all human and we all make mistakes and we're all imperfect and nobody has every answer. But I know that if we all watch out for each other and we all make sure everybody in the room has a smile and everybody gets a chance to speak and everybody gets a chance to have some bread when there's bread on the table to be had, the world's going to be a better place. So that's my show today, guys. It's hopeful because I hope you heard it. I hope you're willing to help. I hope you find a reason to be grateful for today. I hope you write down the things you want to change for tomorrow. Get into action on it. You can't let other people do it. To be honest with you, there will be people who will act on it, but they may not do it the way you need it. They may not do it in time. They may not do it the way you would have. And if you're not speaking for you, I don't want to hear complaints later. One of my least favorite things in the world is to have Aunt so-and-so come in and complain about Thanksgiving when she didn't bring a plate. Not a dish, not one thing. Don't be that person, right? If you know you don't like the food Becky cooks, bring your own dish. Serve yourself your own mac and cheese. Bring two. Have two. It'll be fine. I think there is something to be said about meeting people you love, you care about, you want to engage with where they are, so everybody can leave the table with a little something. They feel better for showing up. Because if we're spending time together, and that's the last time we get to spend, how are we leaving the humans we engage with? If I die tomorrow, I hope you feel like I've helped. I've inspired you. I've empowered you. I've dared you. I made you want to speak the opposite of everything I just said to the point where you start your own channel so you can speak to the people who don't believe in hope. I just hope you do it your way. And don't try to change my way to do it your way. And if we all really live by that rule, right? Like, let everybody on the playground have their own little space. Let everybody in the daycare have their own little table and center to play with. And everybody gets to do their thing their way, as long as we keep our hands to ourselves and we don't take from others. Simple rules. Let's get back to the golden one. Treat others the way you want to be treated. All right, guys, I am out of here. We're going to do this again. If you need some coaching, you need some consulting, if you want help, let's get together. Go to documentthenact.com. That's the website. Go check it out. Have you subscribed to the YouTube channel? I haven't checked yet, but I would love for you to do so. I am adding new content over there, some shorts, some stuff. It's coming. It is, I promise. And then I do also want to, like I said, have you go to the website, check it out. But if you have ideas for coming shows, if you have something you want me to cover, I'd love to know. I'm happy to do that with you. I am going to be live with Felipe tomorrow. He's going to post the event soon. We're going to do a special little thing, and you can figure it out if you're following him. I'm not even going to tell you. Also, watch for Jackie and I. We're going to have our next Emotional Women event. We're trying to figure out the scheduling. We're busy ladies, but we know it's time to have some conversations and get active and have maybe some webinars for you guys to do. We'll be back. We're going to get together and get some clarity on that. But guys, it's time to go Saturday. Felipe is going to be live with some of our friends from Social Saturday Chat. So go over there, or maybe he won't be live, but his friends will be. I don't know. They have a huge crew. They rotate often, but check them out. And then make sure you're following Felipe for the Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. There's also a YouTube channel for those episodes Felipe has, and it's on my Document and Act playlist. So go find it. It's time to jam. Are you ready? We're going to play the Coffee Chat song. Aaron Gibson made it. If you want one, you should ask him for one. He does charge for the service because he's amazing at what he does, but I highly recommend it. And I love mine. I play it often. I should probably do something different with the intro, outro, but you know what? It makes me dance. And what better way to get into the vibe than to vibe, right? So with that said, guys, I'm going to be out of here. We're going to play this song. Go dance, go sing, go be hopeful, go spread hope. Go volunteer 10 minutes to make somebody else smile, because 22 people smiling in a room is not enough. We'll talk to you soon. Listen.
Sunlight creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup was a whisper. Conversations open doors. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight and